So we're going to blame climate change for hurricanes? Really? How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about some people in the political world and also mainstream media blaming climate change for hurricanes. And to be specific, Hurricane Idalia, the one that hit Florida and is going through southern Georgia and the Carolinas as I speak. Now, this is totally ridiculous. If anybody hasn't realized, we're in hurricane season right now. August is always a hot month for hurricanes. Always. You had Hurricane Katrina, I believe, during August. I think Hurricane Andrew back in the day in Florida, that might have been August, September. There's always hurricanes this time of the year, every single year. And it's been like that before there was ever a phrase called climate change or global warming, global cooling, whatever they want to call it. This has been going on. And as a matter of fact, much of what you see on the East Coast as far as the geographic formations were formed by hurricanes. Back when I was in Virginia, of course, you're going to have hurricanes that hit there. I've lived through a few there. I think Hurricane Isabel, that was a big one back in the day. But there are certain specific features like Willoughby Spit, if you know about that in Norfolk. That area was formed by a hurricane back in the early 1900s. Hurricanes aren't anything new, but of course, we got to have some people like Adam Schiff blame hurricanes on climate change. Now, check it out. He says the devastating damage caused by Hurricane Idalia along the coast is a heartbreaking reminder of the human toll of the climate crisis. To those in its path, be careful and please closely follow official advisories. My thoughts are with you and your families. I'm surprised he didn't say go get vaccinated to really get full hurricane protection. This is ridiculous. There are always hurricanes every single year. This is not anything new at all. But of course, they got to preach to the normies and might think, you know what? If I just give money to some climate change foundation, or if I buy an electric vehicle, that's going to stop the hurricanes. And then when the hurricane hits and floods your Tesla and totals it with 1 inch of rainwater, then you're going to be crying. But anyway, I digress. Let's take a look at this news clip. This is going to be over on CNN. And if you want to see this full thing, of course, link as always will be in the description. If you're on IG, visit the link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Tropical storm Idalia is just one of multiple destructive weather events as Americans endure a summer of intense, relentless natural disasters. Let's discuss with Dr. Corinne Matchis, geography professor at the University of Florida, as well as our meteorologist, Chad Myers. Dr. Matchis, I'll start with you. For years, we've heard that climate change is a growing threat. This year, we have seen all sorts of real extremes across the United States, from Hawaii to Georgia. Is the average American, do you think, now starting to understand that climate change is here and having a disastrous effect?
Let's pause for a minute. So we're talking about Hawaii, right? We're talking about wildfires. So have fires never happened before this phrase called climate change got introduced to us a few years ago? Were there never any wildfires? Were there never any natural disasters? Was there never any volcanic eruptions, hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes? These things never happened before. This is ridiculous.
Well, it's hard to say what the average American might think, but scientists all agree that there's been a change over the long term in the conditions that we're facing, and that does come with extremes in our weather conditions.
And Chad, talk about how climate change played a role in intensifying Hurricane Idalia. What impact could it have had?
You know, we've been talking about the water temperature around the Keys now for what seems like months, and how there's going to be this coral event, likely bleaching event. The water has been in record warmth territory. Now, Idalia would likely have happened anyway, but you cannot tell.
Okay, so it was going to happen anyway. So what are we talking about exactly? I don't really understand. And it wasn't even that bad of a hurricane. I mean, it did damage, but I've seen worse. I've most certainly seen worse, especially in Florida. Florida always gets hurricanes. They got the football team, the Florida, what is it, the Miami Hurricanes, Florida Hurricanes. Y'all know what I'm talking about. This is nothing new. This always happens. It always happens. This is why a lot of insurance companies are they're kind of hesitant about Florida and also California, because California, they always have wildfires. It's always a thing that happens. It's not anything new.
Because of where it started, what would have happened had the water not been 5 or 6 degrees warmer than it should have been. We don't have hurricanes in the winter because the water's not warm enough. It only starts in June. Well, now it's starting in May, and it's supposed to be over in November, but sometimes we get them in December. It's the warmth of the water that causes.
There's no hurricanes in December, not any hurricanes that land on and make landfall. Okay, the hurricane season, from what I always knew as a kid, lasted from right around beginning of, I say like mid-May, June until Halloween. Halloween was always a cutoff time. So October 31st, when November comes around, there's usually no more hurricanes. Most you're going to get is like a nor'easter or something like that hits the northern states like New York later on in the year. Not no hurricanes is going to hit Florida in November, December. That's not happening.
Caused Idalia to be significantly stronger than it likely would have been had the water temperature been normal.
And Dr. Matches, climate change obviously is fueling more dangerous storms. As it relates to hurricanes, let's flash forward 10 years. What might it look like for Americans who live along the coastlines, such as the west coast of Florida, other impacted areas? Are there difficult questions to be asked about whether people should rebuild in some?
Okay, so basically, I think what he might be trying to get at is these places might be underwater. They're always going to have hurricanes. It's just going to be too much to deal with. Basically, don't go to Florida because they're racist. That's what I hear. I mean, at this point, I've become so cynical. I hear certain things. Maybe they're not being said, but I heard it. Maybe you guys didn't hear it. If you did, let me know in the comments.
Some of these areas.
Well, those are difficult questions, and they're already being asked, as we know that there is sea level rise happening, and quote, normal tides now are higher than they used to be. So there's a lot more flooding that's happening, even when there isn't a storm available. And so when you have a devastating storm, and even winter systems can cause a lot of beach erosion and building damage along the shore. So not just tropical systems, but also winter systems. There's got to be a lot of mitigation or adaptation decisions that need to be made.
Chad, this summer we've seen thousands of heat records broken. Ocean temperatures at hot tub levels, extraordinary wildfires, California.
Are you seeing this graph right here? Look at this. July 2023 warmest on record. And they're using color-coded. They love to attack the normie mind, because the normie mind looks at the blue as cold and then the red as hot. Okay? So they're saying July 2023 from 1940 to 2020. First of all, that's all you have. You guys in the science world say that the Earth is, I don't know, however many millions of billions of years old, but we're using data from less than 100 years as evidence of climate change, or in this case, in this instance, it'd be global warming, right? But anyway, back to what I was saying. So, in 1940, or right around that, the average surface air temperature in July was 15.8 Celsius. And then the high for 2020 is 17. So you're talking about a 2.2 degree increase, but the graph is using blue for the low and red for the high, as if it was cold, then it got hot, when in reality it's only a 2 degree difference. And for some reason, the layer, the very last one, is super high. I think that might not necessarily be accurate. I think it's probably more about 16.6. So it's probably more about 0.8 degree increase since 1940. And what was it in 1920? Was it higher than 1940 or lower? because once you go to 1970, it's lower than it was in 1940. And 1980 is the same as it was in 1940. You see what I'm saying? This is all BS. Matter of fact, I'm going to leave that right there. I'm going to leave it right there. If you guys want to see the rest of this, I will link to it in the box. But this is a prime example of what they do on television, the indoctrination, the brainwashing, talking about, oh, well, the water is warmer, it's worse than it could have been. Please, the storm wasn't even that bad. It's a rainstorm with a little bit of wind at best. I don't think there was that many casualties. And if anybody did pass away, rest in peace, prayers out to the family. You know how I do. But as I close, I want to say this. This is ridiculous, but this is what the media does. This is what the politicos do. They're trying to scare the normies into believing that climate change is a real thing and to going out there and buying a Tesla. So when you get caught in the flash flood and that seawater hits your vehicle, 1 inch of the water, boom, battery gone. Now how are you going to be able to get another car? You can't. All right, get on this train that we have for you. Where are you going to go? Don't worry about it. Get on the train. I think that's ultimately where we're going to wind up. It's having mass transit, having the government control everything, so you become more of a slave for them rather than being independent, working more for yourself and doing whatever you want to do with your life. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your take on climate change being to blame for hurricanes as if they've never happened before? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. This is crazy. I mean, they want to blame climate change on everything. Oh, you got fires happening. You got an earthquake. Okay, how are you going to blame an earthquake on climate? They'll find a way to do it, and to find a way to convince you that what they're saying is correct. Using the graph. I mean, this graph, I can't get over that graph. That's the most ridiculous thing I've seen in my life. In my whole life. That's what they do to you, though. This is why mainstream media sucks. CNN sucks. All the climate change and all that kind of stuff is nonsense. And if it was a real thing, then they would not need to use these fake graphs, fake pictures, misinformation, lies, fake information to convince you of a thing. If it's true, it's true. And the truth always defends itself. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.